welcome you. Watching This is Exclusive with me, Shavinton. Tonight on this edition of This is Exclusive, I come to you with two special stories. One, a special campaign that we have started here on Republic Media Network. Bring them back home, those who have been stuck in Putin's war. Ladies and gentlemen, over 16 Indians are trapped in Russia. A campaign to bring them home. Not just that, also the big scoop coming in as far as the Rafale deal is concerned. All this and much more on this edition of Republic. This is Exclusive. Up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. It's Republic special campaign on how Indian youth are conned and trapped in the Russian war zone. Exclusive testimony on the show this evening. Biggest scoop on India's Rafale deal. Sources say India to soon seek price quotations from Dassault on 114 fighter jets. In Mumbai, Prime Minister takes on the Congress, says they went soft on 26/11 terrorists. UK Prime Minister on a visit to India says opportunities waiting to be seized under the India-UK FTA unparalleled. Ladies and gentlemen, just imagine sending your child off on a promise of a brighter future, a hard-earned ticket to study abroad, or a job that could just simply lift a family out of hardship. Now picture that joy shattering into complete nightmare. Young Indians vanished into the fog of a foreign war zone, accused of fighting for an army they never joined. Now, such is the reality for several families in India. Young lives full of ambition are essentially being hijacked by a shadowy network of deceit, cheated by fraudulent job agents, abducted at checkpoints, and forcibly conscripted into Russia's war machine against Ukraine. Dozens are reported missing, some confirmed dead, others clawing their way back, scared and silenced. Bring them home is a Republic campaign, bringing you the story of those families who have appealed to the government, awaiting the safe return of their loved ones. Questions essentially also being raised as to how long will it take for the Ministry of External Affairs here in India to bring back our own. Here's a full report, and then we go across to two exclusive testimonies. One of a person who has just returned from Russia, the other who has sustained injuries while he was trapped with the Russian army.
Indian youth with big dreams, hope to better their lives, all shattered in seconds on Russian soil. Trapped, killed, abducted, forced to fight in a war that isn't theirs, on Russian soil, in Russia's brutal conflict against Ukraine. Binil Babu, an electrician from Thrissur, died in the war zone, stranded deep in Ukrainian territory, now under Russian control. A father, a husband, now just a memory. Jain Kurian, a youth from Vadakancheri, forcibly enlisted into the Russian army, injured in the war zone, but escaped barely. He says his cries for help were initially ignored. Months of desperation, after 3 long months, he returned home, but many others didn't. Mandeep Kumar from Goraya in Jalandhar, alongside several other men from Punjab, came on a visitor visa. They were handed a gun, forced to fight, now trapped. His brother Jagdeep Kumar travelled all the way to Moscow from Goraya, desperately searching for his brother.
university student. E patam u minia ciurmu pasadele. Za narcotice statie. Ciurmu minia dale sembliet. Ja ni khatele da ciurmu sitit. Patam ja contract pisarvai so. Khater ubigat khater. У нас сказали, один год контракт есть. И один год служит, и потом, домой опускают. Кто сказал 100 тысяч, кто сказал 500 000, кто сказал 1,5 миллиона дают. По мне ничего не дали. Короче, все так пизда был там. Последний месяц, сентябрь, я там полигоне был. И 16 дней там был, как держит, стреляли, раз, два, все. ТТФ-ке, вот как включать. Кидай, все. И 30 сентября, 4 дня назад, мне привели зеленый лин. Следующий день, 1 число. Команда сказал, готов. Мы 3 человека. Готов. Приехали. 3 либо 3,5 километра мы ходили. Нам надо это как блиндаж. Блиндаж надо копать. Надо убегать. Командар сказал, я не хочу, но сейчас я сильно устал. Ноги болят у меня, сердце болит. Так командир, конфликт был у нас. Он сказал, у него рацию забери, я пускай у него. Пошел нахуй. Я сам слушал. Нормально. Он рацию забрал, потом я убегал. 2-3 километра там ваш блиндаж, украинский блиндаж. Я смотрел, там пошел, сразу автомат. Я не хочу, это война, все, помоги надо, помочь надо. Никому не убил, никому плохо не делал. Я просто 3 дня сюда приехал. Я не хотел это война, я просто хотел убегать. Россия не хочу обратно. Ничего там правда нету. Лучше там сюда я сиду, в тюрьме. Если можно, тогда обратно у меня домой, Индия.
And now, 22-year-old Majoti left Gujarat to study. He was captured by Ukrainian forces, allegedly fighting for Russia.
This is the house right here where Majoti, the 22-year-old, lives and who was captured by the Ukrainian army. While he was serving for Russian army, I tried to interact with the family members of Majoti, the 22-year-old who was captured by the Ukrainian army, but the family people have denied to interact with the media people. They have denied the help of police authority. They have denied to even interview with us. They have denied to add any further information regarding this particular case. They have denied to even speak with any other police authorities, the local police authorities.
These are not isolated incidents. This is a pattern, hidden, coordinated, and deadly. Young Indians cheated, forced, tortured, trapped in a war they never signed up for.
Well, in fact, on This Is Exclusive, we are also getting you the latest as far as Majoti's case is concerned, and highly placed sources have now confirmed to Republic TV that India has sought details from Ukraine's foreign ministry regarding Majoti Sahil Hussain. Sources are indicating that his prisoner of war status is complicating the diplomatic efforts, making an immediate release unlikely, as he has been transferred to Ukraine's prisoner of war central headquarters for further process. Ukrainian sources have assured adherence to the Geneva Conventions, ensuring humane treatment, while Indian authorities, including the embassy in Kiev, continue verifying the claims amid a broader pattern of Indians being tricked into Russia's war machine against Ukraine. I'm going to play out the breaking news once again. We've just got the details of the fact that India has taken up the matter. In fact, the Indian ambassador in Ukraine has actually got in touch with the embassy, with the foreign ministry in Kiev, and the process is already underway. But as we understand that this entire process may take a slightly more time, given the fact that prisoner of war status has been given, and more importantly, not just to Indians, there are others. For instance, in the custody of the Ukrainians are also Nepalese and Bangladeshis who are also been taken into custody by the Ukrainians. Now that is the reason why this entire matter is becoming far more complicated. Earlier today, in fact, Republic TV reached out to the family members of Majoti's. In fact, Majoti's uncle has vehemently contested this entire narrative of the 22-year-old Gujarat student's involvement in a drug-related charges that allegedly led to his imprisonment and subsequent forced enlistment in the Russian military. He has insisted that Majoti is not the kind of a person to get involved in drug trade and was instead in Russia to pursue engineering studies on a legitimate student visa. The uncle has essentially revealed that Russian authorities coerced Majoti into signing a one-year military contract under duress after a brief detention, promising freedom and financial incentives that never materialized before thrusting him onto the Ukrainian front lines with just 16 days of rudimentary training. Listen in to what Majoti's uncle had to say. We'll in fact go play out the interview that was done by my colleague Lognina from Morbi, where his uncle has essentially indicated the following, that this video that you see has been recorded by the 63rd Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Army. It effectively means that in custody of the Ukrainians, Majoti has given a statement. Whether at all he has given this statement under some sort of duress or not, that is still not known at this point in time, but one cannot perhaps deny the possibility of this statement being recorded under some duress. The second aspect is whether at all the Russians are going to take up this entire matter. Listen in to what Majoti's uncle had to tell us earlier today.
पांजा लगता है वो 40-45 साल से यहाँ रहते हैं।
तो रशिया में जाने से पहले मजोटी क्या करते थे यहाँ पे?
यहाँ वो टाइल्स में जॉब करता था।
तो ये रशिया में क्या करने गए थे?
वो पढ़ने के लिए गया था और काम करने के लिए गया था।
और मजोटी के मम्मी पापा कहाँ रहते हैं अभी? यहाँ पे मोरबी में नहीं रहते हैं?
यहीं रहते हैं, यही इसका मकान है।
तो ये मजोटी के मम्मी पापा साथ नहीं रहते हैं वैसा?
साथ ही रहते हैं ना सब। पापा नहीं रहते, उसको अलग हो गया, छूटा हो गया उसको, अलग हो गया।
तो जब आप लोग को पता चला कि वहाँ पे रशिया में वो पढ़ने के लिए गए थे और उनको ऐसे बोला गया है कि वहाँ पे कोई ड्रग केस में पकड़े गए थे, तो आपका उसके बारे में क्या कहना है?
वो ऐसा कोई व्यसन उसका था ही नहीं है।
अच्छा, तो आप कह रहे हो कि उसको ज़बरदस्ती ऐसे फंसाया गया है वहाँ पे?
वो तो क्या हुआ उधर कैसे पता करेंगे?
जब आप लोग को पता चला कि वहाँ पे यूक्रेनियन मिलिट्री फोर्सेस ने वहाँ पे उसको जब्त कर लिया है, वहाँ पे उसको घेर करके रख लिया है, तो आपका क्या कहना है उस बारे में?
सरकार से निवेदन है कि वो हमारा बच्चा वापस ले आए।
आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं यहाँ पे सामने गवर्नमेंट को?
हाँ, गवर्नमेंट को हम विनती करते हैं कि वो जहाँ भी हो वहाँ इंडिया पर वापस आ जाए ना, अच्छा लगे।
आप मजीद उनको कब से जानते हैं साहिल को?
मैं उसको जन्म से ही जानता हूँ।
आप आखिरी बार कब मिले थे दोनों उनसे?
मैं 2.5 साल पहले मिला था।
तो आपका यही कहना है कि उसको गलत फंसाया जा रहा है ऐसा?
हाँ, उसको गलत फंसाया जाता।
उसका
लड़का अच्छा था, सही था।
उसका स्वभाव कैसा था?
शांत था स्वभाव।
Joining us tonight on This is Exclusive is Azad Yusuf Kumar. He's joining us live from Tral in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, Azad was with the Russian army. In fact, it has taken him several months before he could actually return home. Azad, सबसे पहले आपसे जानना चाहूँगा, आप कितने महीने रशियन आर्मी के लिए काम कर रहे थे और आपको किस तरह से फंसाया गया था? आजाद, मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको? आजाद, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? We seem to be having some trouble with the line with Azad, who's joining us live from Tral in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, it turns out that Azad is not just one person who was trapped by the Russian army. There are several others. Some have actually managed to return. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs maintains that they are in constant touch with the Kremlin authorities, trying to bring back Indians who were duped, lured to join some work in Russia, but it turns out that they were asked to join the Russian army and fight for the Russian army. Many were basically sent to the front lines too. What we are given to understand that once they were basically sent to the front lines, they've had extreme difficulties. Earlier today, there were also reports coming in, and perhaps we could play out some of those responses coming in, those videos that have been recorded by Indians who've been trapped by the Russians. In fact, there have been videos of those who were basically stuck inside the Russian army trenches, and they had to spend days put together without much food. Arms and ammunition were barely provided to them to fight the entire war. In fact, if you go by the statement that has been made by Majority, he's essentially indicated that he was basically sent with 2 assault rifles and barely any ammunition to continue with the fight in the Donetsk region. Let's try and also get you some more videos, which we're going to try and play this out. In fact, what we are given to understand is the following, that the Indian High Commission has already spoken to the Foreign Ministry in Kiev, and they say that they are in the process of trying to bring them back. Let me go across to Azad, who's joining us on this broadcast. Azad, आप वहाँ पर थे, कई महीनों से आप रशिया में थे, रशियन आर्मी के लिए आपको काम करना पड़ा. मैं आपसे जानना चाहूँगा कि आप इस पूरे मामले को आगे बढ़ाने के बावजूद, लोगों से बात करने के बावजूद आपको कई महीने रशिया में रहना पड़ा. ये बताइए कि आप वापस कैसे आए?
सर, एक्चुअली गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत सपोर्ट किया. अगर आपको मालूम होगा तो क्या कहते हैं कि मोदी जी वहाँ पर आए थे रशिया में सर, तो पुतिन के साथ उसने जो मीटिंग की थी, तो मीटिंग के दौरान उसने ये मुद्दा उठाया था सर कि यहाँ के इंडियन फंसे हुए हैं तो उनको निकाला जाए. तो वहाँ की रशियन गवर्नमेंट ने कहा था कि हम उनको निकालेंगे, हम इंडियन की ज़रूरत नहीं है, हम उनको छोड़ देंगे. तो उसके बाद 2 महीने के बाद हमको छोड़ दिया गया सर.
आजाद, ये बताइए कि आप कितने महीने रशियन आर्मी के लिए आपको काम करना पड़ा और आपको कहाँ भेजा गया था? आपको क्या कहकर भेजा गया था?
सर, मैं लगभग 8.5 महीने रशिया में रहा हूँ. रशिया में बल्कि यूक्रेन में रहा था सर. मुझे ये कहा गया था कि आपको आर्मी में जाना है, लेकिन एज ए हेल्पर आपको काम करना है, वो भी रशिया में सर. लेकिन रशिया पहुंचने के बाद ही हमको आर्मी के हवाले करके हमको यूक्रेन भेजा गया सर. यूक्रेन भेजने के बाद हमको वार जोन में भेज के, एक तो पहले क्योंकि मैं एक ऐसा कैंडिडेट था जो ट्रेनिंग के दौरान ही जख्मी हो गया था सर, क्योंकि मेरे पैर में गोली लग चुकी थी. तो इस वजह से मुझे फिर बाद में वार जोन में ले जाके बाद मुझे सिर्फ वो बंकर बनाने के काम में लगा दिया गया सर.
एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे करना चाहूँगा आज़ाद, कि जब आपने रशियन आर्मी के कमांडर्स को कहा कि आपको नहीं लड़ना है, उनका क्या कहना था? उसके बावजूद क्या आपके साथ जबरदस्ती किया गया कि आप इस लड़ाई में शामिल रहे?
सर, क्या है कि एक बार कॉन्ट्रैक्टर होने के बाद आप उनको ना नहीं कर सकती. वहाँ जो ऑर्डर आपको मिलेगा आपको वो करना ही पड़ेगा. क्योंकि मेरा केस एक ऐसा केस था सर, क्योंकि मैं इंजर्ड था पहले से ही. इस इंजर्ड के बावजूद मुझे लगभग 12 घंटे 14 घंटे, कभी कभी तो 16 घंटे काम करना पड़ रहा था. वहाँ कमांडर जो बोलेंगे आपको वो करना ही पड़ेगा सर, आप ना नहीं कर सकते.
आज़ाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद रिपब्लिक टीवी के साथ जुड़ने के लिए और हमारे साथ आपकी कहानी बताने के लिए. Not just Azad, there are several others who've actually gone through a similar ordeal, and what we are given to understand is that the battle still continues, with at least 16 of them still fighting to come back home. Getting you the other big exclusive story tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Defense has sent a formal request to France Dassault Aviation for pricing details on up to 114 Rafale fighter jets, aiming to significantly expand the Indian Air Force's current fleet of 36 Rafales through a potential government-to-government deal that bypasses the prolonged MRFA tender process. The proposal, currently under the scrutiny of the Defence Procurement Board, awaits the final approval from the Defence Acquisition Council, with the strategic goal of forming at least 2 additional squadrons to counter the threats emanating from China as well as Pakistan, while streamlining the logistics with the battle-proven multi-role jets, building on the 2016 IF contract and the April 2025 naval deal for 26 Rafale jets. Let me also bring in my colleague Ishan, who's joining us live, getting us the latest details. Top sources now confirming, Ishan, that India has formally reached out to Dassault Aviation for the pricing of the Rafale jets. Are you telling me that about 118 is what India is essentially looking at right now?
Shaban, sources have told Republic that the Ministry of Defense has sent a formal request for pricing to Rafale for 114 jets, wherein the initial squadrons will be in flyaway conditions and rest would be assembled in India with up to 60% indigenous content. This will give a major boost to Atmanirbhar Bharat also, as these jets will provide the much needed squadron strength needed for the Indian Air Force. Right now the Indian Air Force has 29 squadrons against a sanctioned 42 squadrons. After the retirement of the MiG, it is facing shortages of fighter squadrons, and currently we are operating with 29 squadrons. This deal, if it goes through the proper channels, could potentially be a $23 billion deal, wherein 114 Rafale jets would be brought to India, wherein the initial jets of around 36 would be brought to India in flyaway conditions and rest would be assembled in India. Right now, these are very preliminary stages of the negotiations, wherein only the pricing has been requested, and it is expected that a concrete and final deal would come about by the year 2026, and deliveries could begin as early as 2027.
Before I let you go, Ishan, with regards to what's the stage that we are essentially looking at? I believe the Defence Procurement Board is essentially looking at the deal right now.
Currently, the request for pricing has been sent by the Ministry of Defense to Dassault Aviation. Since this is a government-to-government deal, the pricing will be very similar to what the French government gets the Rafale jets for. And since the payment modus operandi in a government-to-government deal is wherein the Indian government will make payments directly to the French government, the pricing of the jets would be very competitive in nature. Furthermore, right now, after the pricing request is completed, the Defence Acquisition Committee will take a Defence Acquisition Committee will take a look at it, and once the Defence Acquisition Committee has furthered the application, will go to the Defence Procurement Council. Once the Defence Procurement Council approves this, then the delivery of jets will start taking place. Shaban.
Thank you very much, Ishan, for getting us that a big scoop on the Rafale deal, as India also set to strengthen its air power. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. Coming up, trending with my colleague Rakshita.